He really sent me a lot of important information about data hygiene. You need to keep your database filled with your sphere of influence, the people that know, love, and trust you and would use you because they know, love, and trust you, as well as any new clients that come in, new leads, new people that you've just closed on, or prospects that just haven't committed to anything yet. And you need to track all this, and really we're self-employed. You got to build your business. So you have to be good with your data. And you're only as good as your database. You'll hear many agents and brokers say that. Your database is your data bank. A lot of people say too, because there's a lot of money and profit in helping the people that know, love, and trust you and have worked with you before. The problem is when you are a new agent, you are like, okay, I have like 5 people, how am I gonna start a database with 5 extra, 5 clients plus all my friends and my family? And then you realize quickly it starts adding up, because maybe it's 5 today, but it's, then next week you have another 5, and before you know it, it's a multiplier, and you have so many people, and then you start closing deals, and then you're like, oh crap, when was their closing date? I wanna make sure I get them in for a home anniversary. So a year from now I can congratulate them and be like, hey, it's your first year. And really reach out to them and see if they still have needs, because even though the transaction's over, doesn't mean the relationship is. And some people may have loved working with you, but just forget even your name, and you're like, hey, we spent all this time together, we worked really well, but you forgot my name, so you didn't refer me. If your family or friends or someone you knew was like, hey, I need an agent, you're like, oh, I love my agent, what was her name again? So it really is important to have those touches, those connects, and make sure that you reach out to your folks. And the biggest problem is, as that database grows, if you're not on top of it, you're losing a ton of business. Because imagine if I'm just going to a stranger on the street and I'm like, hey, I'm a great real estate agent, I'm gonna work really hard for you. Like, that's great, who are you and why are you coming at me? But if it's someone that actually had that experience with you and they're like, yes, you were awesome, and you know what, I just remembered my girlfriend at work was looking for someone, and I would absolutely refer you, but I lost your business card, or I meant to Google it and then it slipped my mind, and before I knew it, she told me she sold, she bought or sold her house. So if you're not in front of it and on top of your database, you really can lose a ton of business. So going back to it, there's also the issue with agents where you may have a transaction coordinator, you may have an assistant, you may have someone helping you as you're working with different clients that are putting in stuff. Like, okay, you have a new listing, we're gonna put in their names, and when they move, because they're obviously selling, that's no longer their address, right? So now we gotta track, where did they move to? Did they move out of state? Did we sell them another home? What's their new address? And oh, by the way, did we represent the buyer? And where did the buyer move? Is the buyer their new address or somewhere else? So it's keeping track of buyers and sellers, and still your friends and family as well, and coworkers and anyone else that has inquired, or like I said, prospects. So very quickly you can get into the thousands of people. And a perfect example, my husband and I, our team went over to Keller Williams more recently. We were under our own Rothman Realty Group and an indie brokerage, and then we ended up going to Keller Williams. When we brought our team to Keller Williams, we were like, oh my God, you meet clients, you'll have someone, you'll be like, oh, that's right, you want real estate help. Let me put you in my phone. Let me get you an appointment, whatever, put you in. So now you have contacts in your phone, and then you set up new clients and you have contacts in your MLS database. So the multiple listing system, where you actually put people in to search for homes. And then when they do a transaction, you have it in another transaction database. Right? So now you have like 3 different spots where you have contacts, and all that stuff is changing. So even your family, I could have had my mom in my phone, and my mom moved, and did I update her address? Did I mail her? Mom better buy from me, she's an agent. But and then if you switch assistants or coordinators or whoever, if you're doing a virtual assistant, now you're constantly training people, hey, what was the last update on my database? Where did we leave off? Like, were we in the A's, the L's, where are we, and who's updated? And by the way, here's 5 new closings this week. I need you to update them now. When is their closing date so I can follow up with them for their anniversary? And it just gets to be so cumbersome and so overwhelming for agents. If we're doing what we do best and we're out on the street helping people and meeting with people and providing a service, we can't do all the back end office stuff as well. So I had met through a colleague, they had referred me to Scott Walker, and they said, hey, there's this company, they do like a data scrub. And I was like, oh my God, I need that. Then you have to download an app they're like, okay, you need to use this app to download all your phone contacts, and then you need this program to download all your contacts from the MLS and put this in a spreadsheet, a CSV file, and then get me this, and before you know it, you're like, oh my God, I have like 10 different sheets. Now you have to take all those databases and merge them, and you're gonna have dupes, so you have a lot of duplicates, you have a lot of old information. And then you might have, like, using my mom again as the example, mom's old address in my phone, but her new address in a database that was updated by my assistant. And now how do I know which one is the right one? So and when you combine your entire database with not just me, so let's say I have 5,000 and my husband has 10,000 contacts, and then our other agents have contacts, like how do we make sure that all the information we're putting into our CRM is actual, real, raw data that's updated, and we can do a drip campaign, or we can send out mailers, we can send out, anniversary cards, we can send out birthday cards, and we can get after it. It's really hard for agents. It's not like your doctor's office where you go in for your dental cleaning and you're like, hey, they're like, is this your updated address? Yep, that's my address. And then they send you happy birthday from your dentist. Realtors have been struggling with this for a long time. Scott had found a lot of contacts in the database that also were not necessary, like real estate agents, like contractors, or not necessarily contractors because I would keep them in. Home inspectors, they're going to be inundated by every agent that ever uses them. So really it's, again, doing that data scrub in several levels and saying like, okay, this person is an agent, so we need to get rid of all of these agents because I'm not going to market to other agents. It's a waste of time and money. But yet they are in my phone database, and they are, part of contacts in my MLS or in different transactions. So again, it's separating that information. I think the most beneficial thing Data Labs did for me is really compile all the different all the different spreadsheets we had from my phone, the MLS, and my regular CRM, and just combine it and get rid of all the duplicate junk, because you have like 15 Michelles and it's all the same Michelle, and it just is so it's difficult to go through your CRM, and if I were literally to sit there and say, this is all the same person, where Data Labs was able to scrub it, and their system was, okay, this person has this name, this email address, and this is updated information in what they pull it from. And I don't know where they pull their data from. I'd have to check with Scott, but it was great that someone could go through and clean out all that different stuff and find out what someone's actual current address is instead of their apartment, because I sold them a house, but I didn't have an assistant maybe at that time when I did that closing to enter the new information in. So it's catching all those things that kind of fell through the cracks, as well as eliminating the numerous duplicates that come up when you compile all those CSV files from different systems. Data Labs was really important in the fact that they had not only eliminated all those duplicates, but they had added, if they had a birthday, if they had their current address or their email address, like let's say someone had their old work email address and they don't work there anymore, so now it gives me the newest email address update that they have. It has when they last purchased their home. So there's a lot more information than just generic like, oh, this seems to be their current address. they're pulling in several different fields of important data. And I had even asked Scott, I was like, so I'm looking at what you sent me for your finished file, and I can't figure out which one's my, like, where all the data is. And it was funny because he's like, no, just scroll over. And when I scrolled over, I saw all the fields that they had entered in. So when you have like your A to Z, like names of folks, and it would have like certain fields that they didn't find information, and then all the information that they did find. And so then I was kind of blown away because I was like, that's a lot of data that they kind of either found or scrubbed or integrated into what I had. So it's kind of like they completed the puzzle that I didn't have time to finish. And that anyone assisting me may not have been able to tell me, like, I left off on, I was in the M's, but then I had 10 closings that had, A to L names, and so I needed them to go back and add those. I think it's so important that now that it's updated, it's so much better where you can have, I can have an assistant put it in and start my drip campaigns and send out the cards to folks and send out invites if we're doing a function like, a meet and greet, or we're doing like a, appreciation event. And now I'm able to actually make sure it gets to the right people. And, it's so hard to feel like you love these people, you spent some time with them, you really helped them, and you don't want to lose touch with them, but I'm only one person. And it's so hard to do it on your own. You really need support, and you really need all of that updated in order to even reconnect with them. Because now 5 years later, there's no way I could call every one of my clients and be like, hey, how you doing today? And it's important to go through your database, and a lot of agents will tell you, and brokers, to go through the alphabet, so like one day you're like, okay, I'm going to call all the A's today, and this week I'm just focusing on the A's, and next week I'm just focusing on the B's. And how long do you think that takes you to get through a whole database? And there's a million interruptions, especially in this industry right now. It's insanely busy. And I actually had a newer agent kind of shadow me the other day, and she was just helping me out with some filing. And she's like, I can't even believe, like, your phone, like the different amount of things you're trying to navigate while you're just working on these files with me. Imagine also trying to follow up with your database or update your database. It's just absolutely impossible. And I had never heard of a company before that did a data scrub. As soon as I heard it from the colleague of mine, I was like, oh my God, how do I get a hold of this guy? Where do I sign up? And how much is he? Because it's worth it, because there's no way in hell I could do it on my own, or even have someone else, like an assistant, do that, because they don't have the resources that Data Labs has in order to pull in all that information. So there's certain things that are public information, and I don't know where, where they get all their data, but it's much more accurate than anything. It would take someone a lot of time to kind of like either look through old files or electronic files, whether it's paper or electronic, depending upon how long you've been in the business, and then make sure all that stuff is updated. It was amazing at how they could rapidly do it, and you could get back in business and be like, okay, now I can upload all this stuff and get my CRM working again. So
how long did it take for them, and how many contacts did they do for you?
I believe Scott did for me just under 5,000, and I think it took him a little over a week.
And how much did you pay for that?
I believe I paid under $500.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. I believe it was 400 something.
Okay.
And that was another thing. It was such reasonable pricing. And it's based on brackets. Like, let's say you're an agent that has been doing business a long time and you need help, then you're gonna have 10,000, 20,000 of a database. That's a different price point. Thankfully, like I said, I'm a little over 5 years, so it wasn't as bad as maybe someone else longer in the business. So now that everything is updated, I can actually sleep at night. and know that I can keep in touch with the people that really matter to me. And that's my bread and butter. That's how I, support my family. And I love this business. I love the industry. And I think if, like you hear so many motivational speakers and any real estate gurus, they tell you you're only as good as your database. And if you do not have a good database, you're missing out on so much opportunity and in connecting with the people that really know, love, and trust you. And then you're going to resort, like many agents do, and I am proud to say I do not subscribe at all to Zillow. I do not pay for Zillow leads. That you're going to have to go to those outside sources to get business, and you're going to have to pay for leads instead of following up with the people that are already right there sitting in your database that you could be tapping into, that know people who are looking to buy or sell and would gladly use you if they understood the experience that you already gave that client.
If you like this interview you're watching and you want to see more like this one, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the Prospecting Today YouTube channel.